I'm a new mentor, and so I made a really simple project, an alarm system, and here it goes. So my goal was to make an alarm system, pretty straightforward. And then I designed an alarm system using LEDs, an ultrasonic sensor, with the breadboard, and also with the Raspberry Pi. And then, so the software I used was the programming language Python 2.7. How many of you kids know what Python is?
Yeah.
Oh, so the majority of you kids. Okay. And then the operating system I used was the Raspberry operating system, which is a form of Linux. And then the hardware I used was the Raspberry Pi, the breadboard, the LEDs, which stand for light emitting diodes, the wires, and the ultrasonic sensor. So here is my program. Oh, going back. Here's my program. So what I did first was I imported the libraries, and the first line says import rpi.gpio, that sets up everything. And then the second line, import time, that allows us to use the time functions, the time sleep, to tell whether, the lights to flash or not. And then we have the setup board, which sets up the breadboard. And then what I have next are the variables that are assigned to the GPIOs. How many of you guys know what the GPIOs are? What does GPIO stand for?
I don't know what it stands for, but it's basically a library, I think.
It's a library?
Yeah, that's
General
what.
input or general purpose input.
General purpose input output. There you go. So what general purpose input output is, it's pretty much the pins on the Raspberry Pi itself. So it's not a library, but it's the pins on the Raspberry Pi. And then, so I used my variables to assign them. I assigned my variables to the GPIOs. And then I also have my trig output setup, which is right here. My echo input setup, right here. And how many of you guys know what trig is? Kind of? Can you explain? You cannot explain? Can you explain?
Trig is one of the things that you have a GPIO pin for on a ultrasonic sensor.
And what is the function of that?
I'm not sure what the function
I
is.
think it's ground.
What is the function of that?
Ground.
Ground?
Yeah.
So trig is pretty much, okay, you can answer it.
It emits the sound signal out of the.
Exactly. So it emits the sound signal out of the ultrasonic sensor, and then that can bounce off of an object, for example, like my hand or something, and then that goes into the input, which is the echo. Okay, and then we will go on to the next. So I, like, being a noob, right, I tested my project several times before it worked. And since I've never worked with circuitry before, this is the first time I've ever worked with circuitry, I encountered a lot of problems with it, and it took me like several tries. But I finally figured it out, and we're about to demonstrate how it works. But before I do that, if I were to redo this project again, I would probably put like a buzzer or something so that it would make like a sound. Like it would actually be an alarm system and make a sound for my project. And now we are going to demonstrate. So can I get like a volunteer to help me out with this project? Okay. What's your name?
Socket.
Socket. Okay. So let's run this code. And then can I get another volunteer as well? It looks like you really want to come up. Okay. And what was your name? Pudding. Okay. So I'm gonna have Sakith here hold the breadboard. So you can hold the breadboard. And then you can face the ultrasonic sensor to the thing. And now what we're gonna do is run the program. F5, of course, you know. And then you can put your hand here, right? So what it does right now, if you put your hand at least 80 centimeters away, the first light is gonna flash. And the closer you get, other lights will flash. So the closer you get, every light will flash. So you could try doing it right now. And we are having some technical difficulties. It was working, but let's see here.
Yeah.
Alright, it should be working now.
Yeah.
And as you can see, the closer you get, the lights turn on. Alright, and that concludes my project, guys. Thank you very much. Any questions?
So it doesn't make the sound, right?
It doesn't make the sound because
Wait.
there's no buzzer on it.
But if you add the buzzer, will it?
It would make the sound if you had the buzzer.
Will you also teach Arduinos?
What was that?
Arduinos.
Arduinos?
Arduinos.
Arduino.
Arduino?
Arduino.
Arduino.
Arduino, yeah, it's like a
It's a
It's another
different kind of Raspberry Pi.
So yeah, I'm new here, and this is like my first time working with Raspberry Pi. And this is actually my first project.
Okay.
So we'll get to that sooner.
Will you teach Fabology or Buildology?
I do not know yet.
Or Gameology?
Or Gameology. Ooh, you want me to teach Gameology?
Yeah, I think you're most fitted for Gameology.
You think I'm more fitted for Gameology?
Yeah.
Okay.
Alright, let's give a round of applause.